Part 5. In the dead of night, a hooded person entered the giant graveyard of Irantal, with steps that made it seem as though it were gliding across the ground. The person's hooded, jet-black cape and the way its waist and shoulders did not move up and down as it advanced was quite peculiar, resembling a ghost when viewed from afar. The figure deftly avoided the magical illumination of the tomb and proceeded ever inward. Before long, the figure arrived at a mausoleum, and shed its hood. The figure was a young woman of around 20, in the flower of her youth. She had a pretty face, and she was cute in the way of a kitten or other small animal. Still, while she looked adorable, there was a carnivore's predatory nature hidden under that face of hers. "I'm here." As she spoke in playful tones, the girl ran her fingers through her short blonde hair and pushed open the stone doors to the mausoleum. The noises of clattering metal came from under her cloak, like the sound of chainmail. Once inside the mausoleum, all the slabs for corpses were empty. The grave goods for the deceased had already been taken away. Perhaps it was the scent of all the incense absorbed by the stone, but a fragrant smell tickled the girl's nose. The girl furrowed her brows, then headed steadily inwards. Hum 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 hum. The girl pressed on an unobtrusive little carving as she hummed. As the carving moved, there was a click as something made contact with something else. A moment later, the sound of grinding came forth. The slabs slowly moved aside, and a path leading downstairs appeared. "I'm coming in." With those sing-song words, the girl descended the staircase. It curved halfway, and led to a wide open space beneath the earth. Although the walls and floor were made of mud, they looked like they had been reinforced so they would not collapse so easily. The air was relatively clean. The airflow to this place was good, which kept the air in here fresh. However, this was not part of the graveyard. It was something far more malevolent in nature. Menacing tapestries hung on the walls, with several crimson candles made from fresh blood below it. They gave off a pale radiance, as well as a smell of burning blood. The flickering flames generated countless shadows, and there were several holes here, big enough for people to pass through. The unique corpse stench of low-tier undead wafted out from those holes. The girl looked around, and her eyes stopped on a certain place. "Ah, creepy guy who's hiding in a corner, you've got a guest." The man watching his surroundings from his hiding place in the dark corners of the room heard those words, and his shoulders trembled. "Hi, I'm here to meet Kazi-chan who's supposed to be here, is he?" The man seemed a little lost as to what to do, and as he heard the sound of footsteps again, his shoulders shook once more. "It's fine. You may leave now." After the newcomer spoke to the man, he revealed himself. He was a skinny man. His eyes were sunken in, and his face was a corpse-like pale white, which could be summarized in the word lifeless. His scalp was bereft of any hair, nor were there any eyebrows, eyelashes, or any body hair at all. He gave the impression that he was completely hairless. Given that, there was no way to tell you his age at all, but since there were no wrinkles on his skin, he probably was not that old. The man was dressed in a dark red robe that was the color of dried blood, and wore a necklace made of the skulls of small animals. His hands were so shriveled that they resembled claws, and his fingers tipped with dirty yellow fingernails were wrapped around a black staff. Rather than a human, he looked more like an undead monster. "Hi, Kazi-chan." The man frowned as he heard the girl's playful greeting. "Can you not address me like that? It'll damage the reputation of Zoranon." Zoranon. They were a powerful and evil secret society, counting several veteran magic casters among their number and led by a wise leader. After orchestrating several tragedies, they had become enemies of the countries in the region. Really, the fact that the girl did not wish to change the way she addressed him made the man frown even more. "And then, why did you come here?" You know I'm infusing energy into the orb of death, right? If you're here to make trouble, I have ways to deal with that too. The man narrowed his eyes, and tightened his grip on his staff. Nu, Kazi-chan, I just came here to bring you this. The girl flashed him a coquettish smile and reached around under her cape. There was the sound of clattering, and then the girl triumphantly produced the item she had been looking for. It was a circlet. Countless small gems adorned thin, metallic threads, looking for all the world like a spiderweb covered in water droplets. The item was exquisitely made, and in the middle of the circlet where the wearer's forehead would go was a large black crystal. This is... The man could not help but stare in silence. Although he had only seen it from a distance, there was no mistake here. This was the crown he had seen once before. The symbol of a Miko princess, the crown of wisdom. This is one of the treasures of the slain theocracy. Correct, I saw a cute girl wearing this strange crown, but it looked so wrong on her head that I took it off and then I was so surprised. She went mad, peeing and crapping herself. The girl convulsed in laughter. The Miko princesses stood at the heart of the slain theocracy's rituals. There was no way that she, as a former member of the Black Scripture, would not know what would happen when she snatched the crown of wisdom away from its bearer. After all, when the time came for a new Miko princess to be appointed, the job of the Black Scripture was to remove the crown from its current wearer, and then promptly send the now insane Miko princess to be with the gods. Still, it can't be helped. It's the only way to obtain this. Is the fault of the person who made the crown. He's the one to blame. There was no way to safely remove the crown of wisdom. The only option was to destroy it. However, the crown would delete the wearer's personality and turn a human being into a magic item that could use incredibly high-tiered spells, so nobody would do anything wasteful like destroying it. Still, there were such madmen around. HMPH, to think you'd betray the Black Scripture for such trash. Why not steal one of the divine artifacts of the six gods? Calling it trash is too mean. The man laughed at the girl who puffed up her face. Nothing wrong with calling it trash, right? Girls who can wear an item like this are one in a million. Finding a wearer for this would probably be impossible, even in the slain theocracy. The slain theocracy was the only one in the surrounding countries that kept detailed registers and genealogies of its citizens. Therefore, by consulting those registers, one could easily find a wearer for the item, in other words, a sacrifice. Without that, it would be hard for even Zorinon to find such a person. But really now, it's impossible to get those artifacts after all. That antique show is guarded by the strongest monster of the Black Scripture, that ancient beast with the blood of the six gods that's beyond the realm of humanity. A godkin, huh? Is that fellow really that strong? I've only heard about it from you. It's stronger than the idea of strength. The relevant information has been sealed up, which is why you don't know if someone who knew about it was interrogated with mind-affecting magic. It would be really bad. I've heard that if the secret got out, it'd lead to total war with the serving true dragon lords, which means the slain theocracy would get destroyed in the crossfire, so I hope you'll pretend you never heard any of it. I find that hard to believe. Well, anyone who hasn't seen that power wouldn't think so. Well then, let's get down to business. Kazi Dale Badantel, are you willing to help me out as a fellow member of the 12 executives? The girl's tone finally changed. Oh, showing your true face, at last, oh fragment of Quintia. But don't call me Dale. I've cast away that baptismal name. Then, don't call me a fragment of Quintia, Call me Clementine. Clementine, what do you want me to help you with? There's a pretty outstanding talent holder in this town, no? Maybe that guy could wear this item. I see, that guy from the stories. Still, you could easily handle the task of kidnapping a single human being by yourself, no? That's right, but I'd like some sort of confusion while I make my move. I see. A distraction while you flee, huh? What about it? What if I was willing to help with your ritual? It's a good deal, right? The man Kazit narrowed his eyes, and smiled evilly. Wonderful, Clementine. If you're willing to help me, I can carry out the rite of death. Very well, I shall aid you with all the resources at my disposal. End chapter.